The awakening of potential. In a world where the mundane ruled, where factory floors echoed with the rhythmic clanking of machinery, Alex found himself trapped in a cycle that felt as unyielding as the steel he shaped daily. The factory, a monolithic structure looming against a gray sky, was both his livelihood and his prison. Each day began with the same routine. Wake up, don the drab uniform, endure the long commute, and immerse himself in hours of monotonous labor. The air inside was thick with dust and despair, punctuated only by the occasional shout from a supervisor or the whirring of machines that never seemed to stop. Alex was not alone in this existence. Around him were countless others, men and women whose faces bore the marks of fatigue and resignation. They were all bound by invisible chains, shackled by societal expectations that dictated their roles as laborers, mere cogs in an industrial machine. Dreams were whispered only in hushed tones during breaks, quickly stifled by the reality that such aspirations were deemed impractical. Yet beneath this oppressive surface, a flicker of hope began to emerge. Whispers of a new technology spread like wildfire through the factory halls, an innovation promising to unlock human potential beyond its current limitations. It was called neurosync, a procedure designed to enhance cognitive abilities and physical skills by rewiring neural pathways in the brain. The concept was both exhilarating and terrifying. It offered freedom from mediocrity, but at what cost? One afternoon, while taking a break in the dimly lit cafeteria, Alex overheard a group of coworkers discussing neurosync with fervor. Their faces lit up as they shared stories about individuals who had undergone the procedure, people who had transformed from ordinary workers into extraordinary beings capable of feats previously thought impossible. The tales were intoxicating. One man had become an expert coder overnight, while another could now run marathons without breaking a sweat. As he listened, Alex felt an unfamiliar stirring within him, a yearning for something greater than his current existence. He had always been good with his hands. He could fix almost anything that broke down at home or on his job site. But what if he could be more than just good? What if he could be exceptional? That evening, as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Alex wrestled with his thoughts. The allure of neurosync was undeniable. It promised not just skill enhancement, but also liberation from the constraints that bound him. Yet doubt gnawed at him. What if it didn't work? What if it changed him in ways he couldn't foresee? Would he still be himself after undergoing such a transformation? Days turned into weeks as Alex continued to grapple with his decision. He sought out information about neurosync, its benefits and risks, scouring online forums and speaking with those who had taken the plunge. Some hailed it as a miracle. Others warned of potential side effects that could leave individuals worse off than before. Amidst this turmoil, he confided in his best friend, Mia, who worked alongside him at the factory. Mia was skeptical about neurosync. She believed that true potential lay within each individual without needing external enhancements. Why change what makes you unique? She argued one day during their lunch break. But what if I could be better? Alex countered, desperation creeping into his voice. What if I could do more than just survive? What if I could thrive? Mia sighed, her brow furrowed with concern. You're not just a factory worker. You're more than that. You have dreams. Don't let some tech define you. Her words resonated deeply, but only added to his internal conflict. As days passed, he observed how others around him reacted to discussions about neurosync. Some were eager to try it out, while others remained staunchly opposed. The factory became divided into factions, those who embraced change versus those who clung to tradition. One fateful evening after work, as Alex walked home under flickering streetlights, he stumbled upon a small gathering outside a community center. Curious, he approached and found people passionately debating the implications of neurosync on society. Some argued it would create an elite class of enhanced individuals while leaving others behind, a new form of inequality. As he listened intently, something shifted within him, a realization that this wasn't just about personal gain, but rather about redefining humanity itself. Could humanity truly evolve if only some chose to enhance themselves? Was it fair for those who opted out to be left behind? With each passing day, these questions weighed heavily on his mind until finally, one morning as he stood before the mirror preparing for work, he made up his mind. He would undergo neurosync, not just for himself, but for everyone still trapped within their limits. It was time to break free from constraints and discover what lay beyond. With determination fueling his resolve, Alex set out toward the clinic, specializing in neurosync procedures, a place where dreams mingled with uncertainty. As he entered through its glass doors adorned with sleek designs and bright lights, he felt both excitement and trepidation coursing through him. "Welcome. Are you here for an assessment?" asked a cheerful receptionist behind a polished counter. "Yes," Alex replied, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Please fill out this form," she instructed while handing him a tablet displaying various questions about his background and motivations for seeking enhancement. As he completed the questionnaire, thoughts raced through his mind. What would happen next? Would he emerge transformed? Would this decision lead him toward liberation or deeper entrapment? After submitting his form, Alex was led into a consultation room where a doctor awaited him, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes who exuded confidence. "Alex," she began warmly, "I understand you're interested in our neurosync procedure." He nodded eagerly as she explained how it worked. Injections designed to stimulate neural pathways coupled with immersive training sessions over several weeks would rewire his brain for enhanced capabilities. "Many have found success," she assured him. "But remember, it's not without risks." Alex listened intently as she outlined potential side effects: cognitive dissonance, emotional instability, all consequences tied to altering one's very essence. Yet nothing deterred him. This was his chance to break free from all limits imposed upon him by society, and perhaps even himself. After signing consent forms filled with legal jargon warning against unforeseen consequences, including no refunds should things go awry, he felt an exhilarating surge of hope mixed with anxiety wash over him, like waves crashing against rocky shores. As they prepared for his first injection, the moment that would set everything into motion, Alex took one last look around at this sterile room filled with possibilities before closing his eyes tight against uncertainty. In that moment before everything changed forever, he whispered softly under his breath, "I'm ready." The choice. The sterile scent of antiseptic hung heavily in the air as Alex sat in the waiting room of the neurosync clinic, his heart pounding in rhythm with the ticking clock on the wall. Each tick echoed like a countdown, reminding him that he was on the brink of a decision that could irrevocably alter his life. He glanced around at the other patients. Some looked anxious, others excited, and a few appeared indifferent, lost in their own thoughts. Each face told a story, but all shared a common thread. They were here to break free from their limits. As he waited, Alex recalled the conversations he had with Mia about neurosync. She had voiced her concerns passionately, urging him to reconsider. "You don't know what you'll become," she had said, her eyes wide with worry. "What if you lose yourself in the process?" But Alex felt a fire igniting within him, a desire to transcend the mundane existence that had defined his life for far too long. When his name was called, he rose from his seat, feeling as if he were stepping onto a stage for an audition that would determine his future. The nurse led him through a series of corridors lined with sleek, metallic walls that reflected the harsh fluorescent lights above. Each step brought him closer to the unknown. In the consultation room, Dr. Leela Chen awaited him, a woman whose calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the anxiety swirling inside him. "Welcome, Alex," she said with a reassuring smile. "I understand you're interested in undergoing the neurosync procedure." "Yes," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "I want to enhance my skills." Dr. Chen nodded, her expression turning serious as she began to explain the procedure in detail. Neurosync is designed to optimize your cognitive functions and physical abilities by creating new neural pathways in your brain. However, It's essential to understand that this process comes with risks. If not practiced diligently after the treatment, those pathways can collapse. Suddenly, a rustling sound broke through their reverie. The team froze as a group of Lyrans emerged from behind one of the spires. They were tall and slender beings with skin that shimmered like liquid silver under the sunlight. Their eyes were large and expressive, reflecting intelligence and curiosity. David's heart raced as he stepped forward cautiously, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "We come in peace," he called out in Galactic standard, hoping they understood. The Lyrans paused for a moment before one stepped forward, a female who seemed to be leading the group. Her features were striking. Her hair flowed like liquid light down her back. "We need to warn them," Emma shouted over rising tension. "No," David countered quickly before turning back toward their hosts. "We need to work together. We can't let fear dictate our actions." The Lyran leader nodded slowly but resolutely. "Then let us prepare," with urgency igniting within them all, humans and Lyrans alike. The room transformed into a hub of activity, filled with voices working together toward a common goal: survival against an unknown enemy threatening not just their lives, but also their fragile alliance built on trust and understanding. As they strategized under pressure, a blend of human ingenuity meeting alien wisdom, it became clear. This moment would define not only their fate, but potentially reshape how humanity was perceived throughout the galaxy forevermore. "You are not from here," she said in a melodic voice that resonated through the clearing. "You are human." "Yes," David confirmed, feeling both exhilarated and terrified at this first interaction. "We are explorers from Earth." The Lyran tilted her head slightly as if processing this information. "Earth. We have heard tales." Her gaze shifted to his crew behind him. "You are under quarantine." David nodded solemnly. "Yes, we have been isolated due to past actions on our planet that have caused fear among other species." The Lyran's expression softened slightly. "Fear is often born from misunderstanding." She gestured for them to follow her deeper into their settlement. As they walked among the spires, David felt an overwhelming sense of hope mixed with anxiety. This was their chance to change perceptions, to show that humanity could be more than its past mistakes. "Your kind has been deemed dangerous," she continued as they approached a large central structure adorned with intricate carvings depicting scenes of harmony between Lyrans and nature. "But perhaps there is more to your story." David glanced back at his team. Their expressions mirrored his own mix of hope and apprehension. He knew they had to tread carefully, but felt an undeniable urge to share humanity's journey, its struggles and triumphs. "We want to learn from you," he said earnestly as they entered the central structure filled with soft light and vibrant colors painted on every surface. "We wish to understand your ways and share our own." The Lyran paused before responding, her gaze piercing yet thoughtful. "Then let us begin this exchange." As they settled into what appeared to be a meeting chamber adorned with natural motifs, flowers woven into tapestries, the atmosphere shifted from tension to curiosity. David felt an electric charge in the air. This was not just an encounter, but an opportunity for growth on both sides. "Tell us about your world," she urged gently. David took a deep breath as he began recounting Earth's history, its beauty intertwined with its chaos. The rise of civilizations alongside wars fought over resources and ideology. He spoke about humanity's journey toward understanding itself better, a journey still ongoing. As he spoke, he noticed how engaged the Lyrans became. Their expressions shifted from skepticism to intrigue as they listened intently. "I understand your fears," David concluded after sharing stories of resilience and hope from Earth's past. "But we are striving for peace now more than ever." The room fell silent as the Lyrans processed his words. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the leading female spoke again. "Perhaps we can help each other heal." David's heart soared at her words. This was what they had hoped for, a chance at redemption, not just for themselves, but for all humans who had come before them. However, just as hope began to blossom within him, Gaby's voice broke through their moment. Warning: unidentified vessels approaching rapidly. Panic surged through David as he turned toward his team and then back to the Lyrans. "What does this mean?" he asked urgently. The Lyran leader's expression hardened as she glanced outside through an opening in their structure where shadows began moving against the backdrop of sunlight filtering through leaves. "Danger approaches," she said simply but firmly. In that moment, everything shifted. Their first contact was now overshadowed by an impending threat that could unravel everything they had worked toward in mere moments. The rising tensions. The atmosphere aboard the SS Endeavour shifted dramatically as the warning of approaching ships reverberated through the Lyran settlement. David Solomon felt a surge of adrenaline as he and his crew exchanged worried glances with their new allies. They had barely begun to establish a connection with the Lyrans, and now they faced an imminent threat that could jeopardize everything. "Gaby, what do you know about those ships?" David demanded, his voice steady despite the chaos brewing around him. "3 unidentified vessels are entering Lyra 7's atmosphere," Gaby reported. "They are armed and appear to be engaging in evasive maneuvers. Their origin is currently unknown." "Can we establish communication?" David asked, his mind racing with possibilities. "Attempting to establish contact now," Gaby replied, her tone clipped as she processed data at lightning speed. The Lyran leader, who had been listening intently, turned to David. "We must prepare for defense. Our people have faced threats before, but never from your kind." David felt a pang of guilt at her words. "We're not here to harm you. We came in peace." "Peace is a fragile thing," she said sharply, her eyes narrowing as she scanned the skies for signs of the approaching ships. "It can shatter in an instant." As tension mounted, David knew they needed a plan. "Let's gather everyone," he urged. "We need to fortify this area and prepare for whatever comes next." The Lyran leader nodded, her expression resolute. "I will summon our warriors. You must gather your team and prepare your ship for potential conflict." With urgency driving them, David and the Lyrans moved swiftly through the settlement, calling on their respective groups to unite against the unknown threat. The humans, still buzzing with excitement from their first contact moments ago, quickly shifted gears into a state of readiness. "Everyone, we need to get to our ship and prepare for possible boarding," David shouted as he rallied his crew in the clearing where they had landed. The team sprang into action, adrenaline coursing through their veins as they moved toward the Endeavour. David felt a surge of pride as he watched them work together seamlessly. Engineers checking systems, pilots preparing shuttles for immediate launch, and scientists gathering equipment that could aid in their defense. "Gaby, what's the status of our ship?" David asked as they approached the vessel. "All systems are operational," Gaby replied promptly. "However, I recommend activating shields and arming defensive weapons." "Do it," David commanded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. They were explorers thrust into a conflict they hadn't anticipated. It was a stark reminder of humanity's tumultuous history. As they reached the ship's entrance, David spotted Emma and Andrew rushing toward him with worried expressions. "David, we've got a problem," Emma exclaimed breathlessly. "What is it?" David asked sharply. "The Lyran's defenses are not equipped to handle advanced weaponry. They need our technology," Andrew added urgently. David took a moment to process this information. The Lyrans had been peaceful for so long that they hadn't prepared for an actual conflict against armed forces. "We have to share our technology with them," he said decisively. "It's our responsibility." Emma nodded in agreement. "But how do we do that without compromising our own safety?" "We'll set up a command center here," David proposed, gesturing toward an area near the ship where they could monitor both their vessel and the surrounding environment. "We can coordinate with the Lyrans while keeping our defenses intact." As they began setting up their makeshift command center, Gaby's voice echoed through their comms. "Captain Solomon, I have established communication with one of the approaching vessels." David's heart raced at this news. What do they want? Their leader requests a parley, Gibby informed him. They claim to be seeking answers regarding your presence on Lyra 7. David exchanged glances with his team. This was both an opportunity and a risk. We can't ignore it, he said finally. But we need to be cautious. I'll go, Emma volunteered quickly. I can communicate with them better than anyone else on this team. No way. Andrew interjected vehemently. You're not going out there alone. I can handle it, Emma insisted firmly, her gaze unwavering. David considered her suggestion carefully. Emma had always been skilled at diplomacy and negotiation. Still, sending one person into potentially hostile territory felt reckless. I'll go with you, David decided after weighing the options. We'll present ourselves as representatives of humanity, together. Emma nodded slowly but looked relieved at not having to face this alone. As preparations were made for their meeting with the unknown ships, David couldn't shake off a sense of foreboding that settled over him like a dark cloud. He knew that first impressions mattered immensely. If they failed here, it could solidify humanity's reputation as dangerous beings in the eyes of other civilizations. Minutes later, David and Emma stood at the edge of the clearing where they had first encountered the Lyrans. The air was thick with tension as they awaited their guests. 3 sleek vessels descended from above like predatory birds circling their prey. The ships landed gracefully nearby, kicking up dust as they touched down on Lyra 7's surface. A ramp descended from one of them, revealing figures clad in dark armor that gleamed ominously under the alien sun. David felt his heart race as he stepped forward alongside Emma to greet them. The lead figure, a tall being with sharp features and piercing eyes, stepped down from the ship's ramp and approached them confidently. You are Captain Solomon, he asked in a deep voice that resonated through the air. Yes, David replied firmly, trying to project authority despite his nerves. I am Commander Varric of the Zenthari Coalition. He introduced himself curtly before glancing at Emma, with suspicion etched across his face. And who is this? This is my diplomatic partner, Emma, David said quickly before she could respond herself. Varric studied them both carefully before nodding slightly, a gesture that seemed almost begrudgingly respectful, but still held an air of superiority. We demand to know why you have come to this planet uninvited, Varric stated bluntly. We seek knowledge and understanding, David replied earnestly. Our intention is not hostile. We wish only to learn from your civilization and share our own experiences. Varric narrowed his eyes skeptically but remained silent for a moment, as if weighing his options carefully before responding. And yet you bring weapons, he noted pointedly while gesturing toward the Endeavor behind them. It is standard protocol for us to protect ourselves when exploring unknown territories, Emma interjected defensively, but diplomatically. Varric regarded her closely before turning back toward David again. You humans have a reputation, a history filled with violence and destruction. David felt anger rising within him at those words but forced himself to remain calm. He understood why they were viewed this way. Humanity had made mistakes that echoed throughout time. We acknowledge our past, he said steadily but passionately. But we are striving for change, striving for peace among civilizations. Varric seemed unmoved by their words, but continued listening intently nonetheless. Perhaps there was still hope for dialogue between them after all. Just then, another figure emerged from behind Varric, a woman dressed in ornate robes adorned with symbols unfamiliar to David or Emma. Commander Varric, she spoke softly yet authoritatively, drawing everyone's attention away from their heated exchange momentarily. Perhaps we should hear what these humans have to say before jumping to conclusions. Varric hesitated briefly, but eventually stepped aside slightly so she could approach more closely without obstruction between them anymore. What is your name? She asked gently yet firmly while locking eyes directly onto David's gaze, her presence commanding respect instantly despite her smaller stature compared to Varric's imposing figure beside her, still looming large like an unyielding wall behind her back now. too close for comfort, suddenly feeling vulnerable under scrutiny again after being so confident moments ago. Earlier during introductions, just moments prior, now feeling exposed instead, somehow, despite having tried so hard earlier too. "I am Captain Solomon," he replied cautiously while trying desperately, not letting any hint of uncertainty slip through cracks forming around edges already threatening collapse under pressure mounting steadily, rising higher, each passing second ticking away relentlessly like clockwork, counting down until inevitable conclusion looming closer, every heartbeat echoing louder, ringing painfully inside ears, drowning out everything else around them, all fading into background noise, becoming mere whispers lost amidst chaos swirling around them, all enveloping everything else nearby too, suffocating, slowly tightening grip around throats, constricting airways, choking off breaths, becoming harder breathing, steadily growing more difficult, struggling against weight, pressing down heavily, crushing beneath its burden, dragging down deeper into abyss, below pulling further away from light above, shining brightly overhead, illuminating path forward, guiding steps, taken a long journey, undertaken together, side by side, united purpose, driving forward, onward together, despite obstacles faced a long way ahead, still remaining strong, resilient, refusing yield, surrender, giving up hope, ever fading away, completely lost, forevermore, never returning again. "Your reputation precedes you," she continued calmly yet assertively, meeting gaze unwaveringly, without flinching even slightly under pressure mounting steadily, rising higher, every passing second ticking away relentlessly like clockwork, counting down until inevitable conclusion looming closer, every heartbeat echoing louder, ringing painfully inside ears, drowning out everything else around them, all fading into background noise, becoming mere whispers lost amidst chaos swirling around them, all enveloping everything else nearby too, suffocating, slowly tightening grip around throats, constricting airways, choking off breaths, becoming harder breathing, steadily growing more difficult, struggling against weight, pressing down heavily, crushing beneath its burden, dragging down deeper into abyss, below pulling further away from light above, shining brightly overhead, illuminating path forward, guiding steps, taken a long journey, undertaken together, side by side, united purpose, driving forward, onward together, despite obstacles faced a long way ahead, still remaining strong, resilient, refusing yield, surrender, giving up hope, ever fading away, completely lost, forevermore, never returning again. A desperate mission. The tension in the air was palpable as David Solomon and Emma prepared to face the Zenthari coalition. The stakes were higher than ever. They needed to prove that humanity was not the threat many believed it to be. As they stood before Commander Varric and his mysterious companion, the Lyran leader, a sense of urgency gripped David's heart. They had to act quickly, not only for their own safety, but for the future of their fragile alliance. "Commander Varric," David began, his voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling around them. "We understand that our presence here raises questions. We want to assure you that we are here to learn and to foster peace." Varric's expression remained inscrutable, but the woman beside him, who had introduced herself as Lyra, studied David with keen interest. "Your words are commendable, but words alone will not suffice," she replied. "You must demonstrate your intentions through actions." David nodded, knowing that this was their moment to shine. "What do you propose?" he asked. Lyra exchanged a glance with Varric before continuing. "There is a faction among the Zenthari who believe that humans pose a significant threat. They are preparing to attack your ship and our settlement unless we can convince them otherwise." Emma stepped forward, her eyes fierce with determination. "Then let us show them who we truly are. We can organize a demonstration of our technology and our commitment to peace." Varric raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet skeptical. "And what makes you think they will listen?" "Because we will invite them here," David said, his mind racing with possibilities. "We can set up a neutral ground where both sides can meet and witness our intentions firsthand." Lyra nodded thoughtfully. "That could work, but it requires trust, something that is in short supply right now." David felt a surge of hope mixed with anxiety. "We'll do whatever it takes to earn that trust," he promised. As they began formulating a plan, David couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The Zenthari ships hovered ominously above Lyra 7, and he knew they had to act quickly before tensions escalated further. Back at the Endeavour. Meanwhile, back on the Endeavour, Gaby monitored the situation closely from her command center. "Captain Solomon, I have detected increased energy signatures from the Zenthari vessels," she reported urgently. "Can you pinpoint their intentions?" David asked as he hurried back toward the ship alongside Emma and their new allies. "Analysis indicates they are preparing for an offensive maneuver," Gaby replied, her tone clipped as she processed data rapidly. "Damn it," David cursed under his breath. They had little time left to convince the Zenthari of their peaceful intentions. "Gaby, prepare our defensive systems just in case," he ordered as they boarded their ship once more.